Hello everybody and welcome back to Darkstorm Rising. Today we're going to finish off that Orc Warboss that we've started. We'll get all of his chest section done, his trousers, the doohickey on his back with the big exhaust out of it. We'll get all of that completed and hopefully at the end of it we'll have an awesome looking Warboss to inspire the rest of the boys. Alright, to the table. So first things first, I think what we're going to do is attack all the metalwork on him, and for that we'll get our trusty old Reaper Miniatures paint pot, and we'll just chuck in there a load of Vallejo dark aluminium. This stuff gives awesome coverage, and it is literally going to all the metalwork that we want to attack. And this has just really amazing coverage. So I'll work around all the metalwork and then I'll come back once I've done. So if I take a slow wander around the miniature, you can see that the piston rods I've done in the dark aluminium. Any bolts, I'll give them a dab as well. A bit more of the leg work structure and all of the exhaust work, bits of the pole, parts of the axe, the blades definitely, everything's got a good wash of the dark aluminium, and the chains as well. So now what we need to do is make them look a little bit more realistic. I'm going to take a little bit of time to concentrate on the exhausts first, and for the first thing on those I'm going to get a little bit of sepia. And we will get a fairly chunky brush, and then we're aiming to get sort of just off the base of the exhaust, not quite at the base but just gently this sort of midsection here. Try and keep it fairly uniform across the exhausts, and then I'll do the back section here, and then we'll leave this to dry and we'll be back once it is. Our next colour is Draconoff Nightshade, and for that, good blob onto the palette, and then just get a little bit of tissue and just wipe off some of the excess, and then just above where we put the sepia earlier we're going to work in overlapping layers of the Draconoff. It may take a couple of washes to get the Draconoff to give you a dark enough shade, but just keep coming back and applying until you're happy, and you need that blue tone in there. So I'll do that, I'll put a couple of layers on, I'll come back and I'll show you the finished result. While we're waiting for the Draconoff to dry, we're just going to swap over to some Quick Shade by Army Painter. Nice strong tone, it's quite a dark brown. And what I want is all of the areas where there are the upper sections of the pipe, I want those to be a little bit more brassy in colour. So we'll just do a simple wash over the top of those. And as we've already got the metallic underneath, it'll just give it a nice brassy tone. And we'll do that on the opposite side and on the upper arm rods as well. And as we continue to wait for the Draconoff to dry, I'm now going to apply some Army Painter Dark Tone, which is virtually black, a little bit more than that. And we'll get a slightly thicker brush, and essentially we're just going to use it to create some relief to all of the silver work, so you can actually see what you're looking at a little bit better. And you just literally just dabbing it on. And if you think you've put a little bit too much on, you can always go back and just lift a little bit off. And we'll go around all the engine mountings as well in here. Just drop a bit in the gap, just to give us some assist in the eye in seeing some of the 3 dimensions that are going on, rather than it all just being silver and hard to make out. Anywhere where there's a joint, really, just to emphasise that joint exists. And then we will come down onto the legs, where all these sprockets are. A little bit of dose across those. And it'll just, again, it'll sink into the recesses and just exaggerate the relief that's going on. And we'll just work our way around the model doing that while we're waiting for other things to dry. So as you can see, we've now given quite a bit of relief onto the silver work. I've just started with a little bit of the next colour, which is Drucci Violet, onto the exhausts. And again, lob that onto the palette, take a little bit off, and I've worked in the first coat already, and we just go over and just gently stroke onto there, building up the colour. I want to run a little bit of colour into the gap here. I want to create a darker recess in there, so I don't mind if it builds up in the recess. And I mean the gap between the exhausts, because that would naturally be darker. And we'll just gently work that all the way around. I'm also going to add a little bit of colour over here onto the pipe work, because there would be some heat exchange going on here, there would be some discoloration in the pipes, and so we'll just give a little bit of purple, and we'll also give a little bit of blue as well. Go back to the Drakenhof. And just a little bit of blue as well. And just let you know that those pipes are heated and warped, and it'll just give you a little bit more definition to them. Right, so we'll leave that all to dry now, and then we'll come back. Now for a little bit of a painful bit, this is where we get the neutral grey. Now that's a Vallejo colour. A little bit of the neutral grey, pop that on our brush, and we are literally going to work around every surface area and just put a little. Use the edge of the brush where you can, just stroke on a grey line onto every area, just to give it a little bit of definition. And we're just going to take our time, work our way around the model. And slowly just define and give everything an edge. And it's going to take a while, but just bear with it, and we'll get the process done. So work our way all around every structure, and we'll come back when that's complete. Now, as you go around the model and put in the little lines on, it doesn't want to be neat edges like on Space Marines. These are orcs. This is orcs equipment. It's a bit scraffed. So as you're doing it, as you draw the lines, just every now and again, just like catch, and you'll see that they've actually provided little nicks in the armour here and there, and just gently sort of work around those and just catch in rough lines along the edges. And don't try to make it too perfect, and it'll nicely fit with that orkiness about it. We'll do the jaw in a little while. We're going to add some zigzags and some teeth marks on here in a little while. But what I'm going to do first is just do the pipe work underneath, and literally I'm going to give each of those, apart from there's one that's corrugated underneath, but all the rest, all the straight ones, I'm just going to give a coat of white, and I'll be back in a second. So we can now see all the pipework's been painted at the back, or datubes as the boys call it, and we'll now paint them in colours as needed by this old piece of machinery. So if particularly this needs to go faster, it's red. We'll have it red, boys. And if we want some hardness, some of them tubes, they'll be yellow. So we'll paint those in, and we'll see if we can't turn them into orky pipes. All right. Let's have a look at some colours. So our first random colour will be Evil Sons. A nice orky type of colour. Get a bit of that on the palette. And then we'll just very carefully apply to one of our pipes. I'll have to touch up where I'm bodging in a second. Let's see if we can get off some of the red. Just applied by accident now. There we go. Got rid. And it's quite hard to work at this angle and show you what I'm doing. So basically what I'm going to do is we'll add reds, we'll add yellows, we'll add blues to the pipes, and I'll come back in a few moments. So just to give you an idea of colours that I'm using, I've gone for Ashman Blue, contrast blue in there, just for one of the pipes. I'm going to go with a couple in Imperial Fist contrast colour, because that does cover quite well, so we'll use that, and then I'll be back. And for the final colour, I'll go for Moot Green. I'll show you me painting these. Hopefully I'll not catch too much while I'm trying to show you the angle that I'm painting at. And the boys are going to be most displeased with me. You betcha. Okay, that's the green one, and then there's one corrugated one which I'm going to dry brush with a bit of lead belcher, and we will just gently dab onto those upper surface areas. There we go. Right, okay, so that's his tubes done. We'll paint the skull on the front next, I think. But I did promise you earlier we were going to put a little bit of soot on the exhaust, which I'll just get that colour, and we'll do that now. So to add some soot, we're literally going to use Green Stuff's black soot. And we'll get a fairly broad brush, dry that off on a bit of paper nearby. And just dunk that around the end. and we'll just leave that and wait for it to dry. So what we've got is a few finishing touches. We need to get the wire banner at the top there finished, and what better colour than to do a punching fist for an orc than in green. So we shall get a base colour, reach over, and I think we'll use golden olive as our base. Mix a little bit of black in with that. And we'll just gently work our way around fist. Trying to leave out any dinks. And although I'm painting it, there's a very slight stippling action to some areas, just to give it a bit of texture and make it look a little bit weathered. Okay, that's our first colour. We'll repeat the same on the back. That's a lot easier to do, and then we'll come back with the next colour. We don't actually need to go anywhere for our next colour because it's there already. It was going to use the olive gold, but without any black in it. So we'll now carefully work our way, and this is going to be very much stippled on. I want to make it look as though it's quite a war-beaten banner. And we'll just leave little irregularities in the green. And then we'll just touch up the top of the banner as well. And the back, and just exactly the same effect, and then we'll come back for the next green. Our next colour is going to be yellow-green. I'm just going to add a real notch up in colour on the high tones. And just really pick out the edges of the fist. and just give it some nice brightness on parts of the border, just to really make the edges of the fist pronounced and pop. And just work back over some of the colours to really increase its vibrancy. And then we'll repeat on the reverse side and get that finished. Right, so I've decided to go with an even more red theme with this guy. So the jaw I'm going to take red. These two side fangs we're going to make red. We're going to have some red designs on the feet. The roping, the leatherwork around the handle, that's going to go red. And I think that's probably all we'll do. Then we'll do the skull in white as a bit of contrast. There is a little design on here as well, that's going to go white as well. I think next what we'll do is we'll do a zigzag on his front of his boot, and we'll do that in red as well. Right, we're going to work a slightly different red, just a little bit of contrast rather than having the same red everywhere. So for his boot, first of all we'll draw on first of his zigzags, or teeth, or whatever the hell they are. Okay, we'll pull that one a bit further across actually to the end. The jaw we're going to take red. Now we're going to work around the teeth. I think we'll take those to quite a shiny colour as a contrast. Yeah, there's another piece of metal on the bottom jaw there. We'll do that in silver as well. Okay, these two fangs at the back here, they're going to go red as well. And I think we'll have a checker pattern on this other foot. And I think that should be enough red. So what we'll do is we'll work into the next colour now, and for that I'm going to go straight to Evil Sun's Scarlet. Big blob of that on the palette next. And this is where we start to make it look a little bit weathered again, a bit more stippling rather than painting. Try and catch the edges and make it look like bits of just like been caught and worn off. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, there's parts of the model, like the back of the jaw, the insides of the jaw, where it's a little bit hard for me to show you because it's hard to catch those and keep eyeball contact with me. And now we'll mix some Wild Rider Red in with the paint, in with the Evil Sun Scarlet, to give us our highlights on these red areas. Just a little bit on the tip of the brush. So again, on these spikes, whatever. And then similarly again on the banner and the fangs. And we'll just work around those, just putting a few final highlights on. And then on to the next piece. Okay, now for the skull on the chest, we'll go to Rhinox hide. That's a generous dollop, puts on that back. And we'll paint the skull all in Rhinox. And just give that a few moments to dry. And for the next colour on the skull, we're going to go to Mornfang Brown. Then we're going to move across to Vallejo's Japanese uniform World War II, and then back to Citadel for Ushabti Bone, which I've prepared here on the palette. I've taken the piece of chain and the Space Marine helmet that's being used as a mace. I've taken that off for the time being, just so I can access the skull a little bit better. And we will start to just emphasise a little bit of the skull with the Mornfang. And then we'll go over to the Japanese World War II. Doesn't matter if I mix a bit of the two together, they make quite a nice blend. And then we'll go to the Ushabti. And again, we'll highlight in. And just tiny bits of white, mixed in a little bit of the Ushabti. just to make those edges pop and just give it a little bit of definition. Okay. Now there's a little skull also dangling on the end of the chain with the Space Marine helmet. Exactly the same for that. The teeth on the bottom of the jaw, I'm going to get some lead belcher and mix the lead belcher with a little bit of black. Make it nice and dark. And each of the teeth we're going to do in a really dark metal. And we'll do the inside as well. Sorry, try and keep it in the camera for you. And then once each of them are done in that, we'll swap to a really vibrant silver. So for the vibrant silver, we're going to pick Runefang Steel. Gel up that on there. And then I'm going to use it to highlight the very edges of the teeth. Okay. Now also with the Runefang, there's one or two areas where I've put some dark aluminium studs and things on, so I'll just catch the very tips of some of those, and anything else that I want just a little bit of extra highlight on. So just before I reattach the chain with that's being used as a mace, I will paint just that front panel in white. Okay, now we'll reattach, and then we'll give some of these, we'll continue on the blades and the teeth to do a bit more weathering, and then I think we're about there. So to add a bit of definition to the teeth and just to promote a little bit of weathering on the model in general, I'm going to get a reasonably decent brush, fine brush. I'm going to run some of the Army Painter Strong Tone that we used earlier, and I'm going to run it over areas like the bottom of the teeth, on the jaw, I'm going to run it into creases of the armour, and it's just going to break up the plainness of the black, and then when we come to varnishing it, I've got an absolutely amazing varnish, and it really does give you a really lovely matte finish. So if there is any shine from this step, we'll get rid of it in the next one once we do the varnishing. But I'm going to work my way around this model, adding in all this subtle toning, and I'll come back to you once I've had a chance to finish. So I've been around the model and I've been applying extra bits of texture here with that wash. We'll see what happens as that dries, but it's looking pretty lovely. We need to finish off the blades now, just give them a little bit more wear. So I'm going to use a little bit of, I think, streaking grime from AK. Now it's an enamel, so you will have to clean your brush with turpentining. And I'm going to use a brush I'm not so fond of while I do this, but we'll give it a good clean afterwards. So AK Interactive Streaking Grime, and we will just apply a little bit. Just to make it look like it's sort of moving in a rotary fashion on there. I suppose you could achieve the same with a little bit of US dark green with maybe a tiny little bit of brown mixed in. Just move that around a little bit. And then we'll apply some blood. As the next thing, I'm just going to clean the brush first. And then for the blood, I'm going to add some true blood and some coagulated blood by Green Stuff. The coagulated is much browner in colour and does look like older dried blood. Let's give it a good shake. And then we'll apply to the blades in just a random speckly type of pattern. And then a little bit of the darker blood, a lot less of it though. And then I think we'll call that done. We'll repeat on the opposite side. I've then only got his eyes to do, and then I'm done. So for the eyes, we'll grab some white. And just very carefully dab his eyeballs. And then we'll go for Evil Sun's Scarlet and just touch the white. Okay. And then I'll get the base prepared and we'll have a grand reveal. Okay, after a few finishing touches and some Gamer's Grass, I think we're ready for the grand reveal. Well, the mighty Warboss is finally complete, ready for his inaugural wow with the rest of the boys. Gonna mince some humies out on the field of battle. I hope you've really enjoyed watching the video. I've enjoyed making it. Only one thing left to say. We paint minis yet? Hell yeah! I'll catch you in the next one.